Hello and welcome to another Foundry tutorial video. And in this one I'm going to show you about creating a scene using battle mats and using lighting and walls and such things on a battle mat. But first thing to do is create a scene. That's on the third tab, create a scene. I'm going to call this Schaffenfest. Create a new scene. This is the scene name and this is the navigation name. The navigation name is what will show up here on top. Sometimes you might have a scene like that is generic forest. So the scene name could be generic forest and the navigation name could be the scene that you actually set up. So maybe you've devised an ambush in the forest and you're using that scene, and maybe you have a random encounter also in the forest, and you have two scenes which have the same setting, the same scene name, but they have a different navigation name. So that's what that is. Of course, the navigation tick to show up there. GM only means that you're the only one that can see it. You can also set it to all players, and then the players will always see it at the top. The background image, of course, you can leave it blank and you can draw things on it by hand or place tiles, but usually you'll have a background even if it's just sort of grassy like the plain one I have here. But it can also be like a small video or the top-down rendering of a 3D something, or a scenic map, all kinds of things. I have some stuff here in the maps folder. Now the browser by default displays this as a list, but you can also see pictures of the stuff. This is a little clip, so you won't see a preview on it of it. But here we have the Schaffenfest I'm going to use. Select file. The background I want it to be black. I'll leave the grid on for now, but I'll put it to 200 just to show you in a bit. You can change the color. The grid distance, I want each grid to be 1 yard. Vision and lighting. This means people can see. Global illumination will, if you enable it, will show the map to people just as if it's daylight. If you disable it, people won't be able to see anything, only where they are standing at that exact spot. And fog, you know, it's just the map is completely blanked out and they explore it as they go. I'm going to set the darkness level at 0. If you set it higher, it will be darker, but we're going to do that with a different button later on. I am going to use global illumination threshold, and it will be clear later on what that is. I'm going to set it at 0.6. 6 is good. Like 6 is fine. You can add journal notes that go with this map. You can even give this scene its own sound. I currently don't have any sound files installed, so I can't do that. You can also apply weather effects. It's got autumn leaves, rain and snow. It will show a nice animation when you load this scene. And the initial view position, we'll get to that later. Save changes. And then it says, because I've used an image, you're changing the underlying dimensions. It will change the dimension of the scene to the dimension of the picture I used. So I do yes. There we go. Oh. Click toggle navigation. I mean, it was already on. There we go. Schaffenfest. And there we go. I thought I enabled the grid. Oh, it's black, right. I set the grid to 200 just to show you what it does. Let's put an actor in there. You see it's very big. Of course we don't want the actor to be this big. We want it to be relative to the buildings. So we're going to change the grid, configure. You see the dimensions are set to the picture. It's a rather big picture. I want to change the grid to 100. 100 should be good for this scene. Save changes. There we go. This is what the actor sees, and you can see he's now way more in better proportions in relation to these tents and the surroundings. This is what the actor sees. As you know, I've turned global illumination off, so this person doesn't see anything except where he went before. Sometimes you want this because it's in a cave or it's completely dark, but there are some lighting options we can give the token. Double click the token and go to configure token. Now there is something to note here, because what I'm doing now is I am editing this token specifically in this scene. If I want this to edit this token for every scene, I will have to go to the actors directory, double click here and configure the token. Now it says prototype token. So every change I make to this entry will apply to every scene I drag this token into. I don't want that now, I just want to apply it to this token specifically in this scene. So I'm clicking this token, configure the token, and now it says token configuration, not prototype token configuration. Okay, I'm going to vision. The token has vision, so it can see, that's good. I can give it night vision, for instance, 5 squares dim vision and 2 squares bright vision. Update token, and you will immediately see a bubble around it. Let's change that. Oh, I don't want it to have night vision, so this is going back to 0. This is also going back to 0. Update token. And I want this bubble, which it has cleared, to be gone. So I'm going here to the lighting controls, reset the fog of war. Yes. Back to the character, click on it. Everything's blacked out again. Okay, I want to set this up properly. So double click it, because this guy has a torch. He does not have night vision. He's not a dwarf. But he does emit light because he has a torch. So the dim light radius is going to be 2 and the bright light radius is going to be 1. In my example, you can always make this 4 or 5 or whichever distance you want. The light color, you can change it by clicking on it. If you do, I would advise to set the color intensity to something like 0.2 or 0.3, otherwise it will just seem like a really bright colored spot and you won't see the token anymore. I'm not going to use it now. Light animation type, there we go. It's going to be a torch. There's some options I will show you later, but for this token I'm going to use a torch. You can change the animation speed of the torch. 5 is fine. Update token. And again, you see he has a bubble around him. There we go. And it's completely lit. I said dim light and bright light, but it's completely lit now because it is day. It's daytime, it's light. And if we go to the scene, configure, all the way at the bottom, darkness level. Watch what happens. There we go. So if it's dark, this will happen. But I don't have to do that here because I go to lighting controls, set it to transition to darkness, and you will see it getting dark. And because I set the darkness threshold to 0.6, that means if it gets darker than 0.6, this token will not have vision, so he will need his torch. Right, so that's nice. Now let's turn the global illumination on, because it's not completely pitch black. There is a moon or some ambient lighting around, so you can see at least a little. Configure, turn on global illumination, save changes, and it should apply. Oh, might have to turn the day again. And turn to night. Now you see I have the token selected, and you can see everywhere. Everything is illuminated. Everywhere you can see it is illuminated. And if I turn it to nighttime, you can still see it's not completely blacked out. Because in the daytime he saw the map, and in the nighttime you can still see where he was. See? Let's turn it into daytime again, because now we're going to play around with some walls. There we go. Walls come in different varieties. You got normal walls, terrain walls, invisible walls, and ethereal walls. I'm going to show you what they do. Just select the first one. If you click and drag, you will put down a wall. And if you hold Control while you click and drag, it will connect to the last dot you placed. And you can make a kind of a shape. This is a normal wall. Let's also make a terrain wall. Oop, that was not my intention to do. Just select it, delete. Let's also make a terrain wall, just to show you the difference. Oh, there we go. And an invisible wall. And there we go. I need that one, delete. And an ethereal wall. There we go. And you will see what's the difference. You see the walls block line of sight, so to speak. I will show you more clearly if I go to lighting controls and hit reset fog of war. This will reset the fog of war for all players. Yes. And now if I click this guy, this blacked out stuff is places he has not spotted yet, and everything that's visible is clear. So there's a wall here, so this is blacked out. And if I move him with the arrow keys, you see that also moves around. This is a terrain wall, and you will see you will not be able to move any further than the wall that is here, but it will only block line of sight behind it. So this is the back end of the wall. You see, so you can only move to here, and it will block line of sight from here. This is the invisible wall to the right. It does not block line of sight, it only blocks movement. This is of course the normal wall. It blocks line of sight and movement. And this is the ethereal wall. It only blocks line of sight, but you can move right through it. There we go. Now let's reset the fog of war again. Yes, and place some lights. Draw light source. There we go. Drawing a nice light source. If you right click on it, you'll turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. I will turn it on for now. And I will draw another light source here. Turn it off for now. Show you what it looks like. There we go. Let's transition to night to show you. There we go. He still has the torch on him. Let's reset fog of war just to be sure. Yep. There we go. You can't see anything, and this light source that's here is off. Turn it on. See what he sees. And even though his bubble is only this big, you can see the light source here. But maybe there's something special about this light source. Double click it, and we're going to give it a color. Nice green. Color intensity, maybe a little less. You can see in real time what it does. This is way too bright. This is good. We're going to give it a energy field. Oh, no, energy field, maybe. Or I like pulsing wave. Or maybe mysterious emanation. No, let's go with the ghostly light. It's actually pretty good for what we intend here. This is maybe, there we go. There we go. And he discovers that there's maybe a taint, poisoned wind globe that burst around that particular stall, or something. Maybe a warp stone or something. So you can do a lot of these special effects with lights, and they will also show up in daytime. There we go. Transition to daytime. It will not show up as strongly, but you'll notice that the other light has completely disappeared. See, it's still on. Now it's off. It's on, off, on. This will show because I gave it a color and an intensity. If you're going to use it during daytime, you might have to set this to 1 to make sure it shows up properly. Maybe it's a different color. That's some kind of magical effect. What I've done in my Schaffenfest, oh, if you want to delete these, by the way, you can select them and just hit delete, or you can do clear lights and it will clear all ambient lights from the selection. Same for walls, clear all the walls. Yep. What I've done in my Schaffenfest map that I use in my campaign is I gave all the buildings walls, so the players actually have to explore the map. I think that's quite good, because if you show the map at once, they might say, oh, I'll go over there, and they will not explore the rest of the map. Whereas it's all blacked out, then they will have to actively explore, and they will go over the entire map. That's it for now. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, post them in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to release a lot of more of these short Foundry tutorials, and hopefully see you next time. Bye bye.